There is a fifth dimension,
about the unknown,
beyond that which is known to man.
The Garden of Thought.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace.
Unexplained.
Mythologies.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call
The Garden of Thought with Jeff Lippman.
Welcome, everyone, to another crossover event between the Garden of Thought and Sweet and Good Torah. It is I, Jeff Lippman, the host of Garden of Thought, along with friend from college, friend from now, and the host of Sweet and Good Torah. It is Laiva Shor.
Yeah, we're getting like Marvel DC crossover here. You know, we're picking it up. This is good.
We sure are. We definitely are. And you're the star of this. You're like the Watcher, and you're Stan Lee and all that.
Excelsior.
Yeah, exactly right. So we've been doing sort of a whole bunch of issues over the course of time, and you agreed to do a show on prophets, and we sort of ran out of time for Ezekiel, so we did an entire show on Ezekiel. And of course, no show is ever just about the prophet themselves. As the educator, you've got to give us the layers of angels and how it fits with the Kabbalah and the tree of life and all of that. And at some point we start talking about Daniel, and it's bigger than just a guy in a cave full of lions. And so you're like, yeah, that probably merits its own show. I mean, every time you say that, you go, this person probably merits their own show. You're talking about a general, Ben something or other that was like Solomon's general and all that. And, so I always file them away. But since we've been on this prophets kick, I thought it was good to do Daniel again. And so, listen, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I think you're going to really enjoy this. We're going to take a look at two visions of Daniel. The first one is King Nebuchadnezzar, the first king of the Babylonian Empire. And he's going to see the four empires of history. We're going to watch world history expand. And we see the four empires of history. And he sees it as a statue of a man. And then Daniel has the same vision, and he sees it as these four terrifying beasts. But if both of them represent the four empires of history, and I'm going to give you a little teaser, and then little pet project of mine, is Donald Trump the little horn? Just a little teaser to throw it out there for the end.
Stormy Daniels says yes.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So Daniel, I mean, we already got this teaser. The story is not actually literally about a guy who survived in a lion's cave for overnight due to the miracle of God staving off the beast. It's actually a vision. So I am not laying blame to my religious school teachers or anything like that. But that's my recollection of what we were told, that I very well might have gone to White Castle that day or that day every year. but that was my recollection. So, yeah. This is much cooler than just that. I mean, God holds off a bunch of beasts. I mean, it's cool if you're the one surrounded by the beasts. But, I mean, for everyone else, it's, not much of a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that the Sunday school, teachers, they don't pick up the exciting stuff. They're not really showing the big hits. I don't know.
They don't do the research.
Let me bring this up. So let's take a look. First, we're going to take a look at chapter 2 in Daniel. And it's really interesting. So what happens at first is, unlike Pharaoh, where he has a dream and he remembers the dream, and then Joseph tells him the dream. With Nebuchadnezzar, it's very interesting because he has a dream about world history and very, significant to his empire, but he keeps forgetting it. So he asks like all his sorcerers and necromancers, he wants them to first tell him, what's my dream? And then what's the interpretation? So this is harder. This is like difficulty level, up. So then Hashem gives the same dream to Daniel. So he comes, he says, this is your dream. And he's like, wow. And then Daniel tells him what the dream means.
Again, for those of you who are listening to the Garden of Thought and you're new here and you're not new and you're not a listener to Sweet and Good Torah, Hashem is just an acceptable word for God, that if in Lan's religious, I want to say order, but that's not the right word. But
Yeah.
there's certain words that you can use to say the name of God. Hashem is a proper term for that.
Yeah, I've been accused of being too yeshivish for being in the yeshiva too long. So I think you're a good, like, popular culture translator. Back into the popular culture.
Well, you're a yeshiva guy, so yeah. And I am trying. I just want to make sure that the it's like in contract where there's definitions of the word, so everybody knows what the words mean, even if they don't mean the same thing in any other context.
All right, so we won't go through so much of the Aramaic, but we're going to go through the English tonight. But we'll go through it. So it says, he says, but Daniel, I think he's speaking here. He says, "There's a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, who has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what is to be at the end of days." And that's the period of time a lot of people think we're in now. The Acharis Yamin, the end of days, and this is your dream. And the vision that entered your mind in bed. So he's actually telling him, this is your dream. God gave him the same dream, so he'll be able to say the dream. And Nebuchadnezzar was going to kill all his servants. He was going to kill all the sorcerers, all the necromancers. He was going to go full Emperor Palpatine because no one could tell him the dream. It was driving him crazy,
Oh, so they were fouling him. It was like it wasn't like Shakespeare kill all the lawyers first.
Yeah. So he says, "O king, the thoughts that came to your mind in your bed are about future events. The revealer of mysteries has let you know what it is to happen." He says, "Not because my wisdom is greater than that of other creatures has this mystery been revealed to me, but in order that the meaning should be known to the king and that you may know the thoughts of your mind." I'll just give a little more here to the intro. "So, O king, as you looked on, there appeared a great statue. This statue, which was huge and its brightness surpassing, stood before you, and its appearance was awesome."
Who is this is this conversation between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar?
Yeah, so this is between Daniel and the king. So Daniel, he was from the royal family of Judah, the kings of Judah, and he was in the aristocracy. And when Nebuchadnezzar, when he conquered Jerusalem, it was in certain stages, like he would exile certain kings, and then finally it all led to the destruction of the first temple, Solomon's temple. But I think Daniel was one of the first aristocracy to be brought with the king to Babylon, and then he worked, in the royal court, and he was around for a long time. He served all the Babylonian kings.
I'm trying to figure out how they got connected. So was it known that the king was frustrated and killing wizards and sorcerers and oracles and seers for not being able to recall his dream? And Daniel heard about him and requested an audience, or somehow got an audience and said, "Sire, I have had this dream. I share your dream and I can remind you."
Yeah, it's actually, I didn't go back that far, but it's actually in here. And we see, Nebuchadnezzar is getting frustrated. He's going to kill all the servants. Daniel's one of the servants. So he really saves all the servants, okay. Jewish and non-Jewish alike. He serves all the royal servants.
So he was actually in the room. He's like, whoa. I think I something that can help us both.
Yeah. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, this guy, supposedly, he was a great conqueror. This is the first, the great empires after Egypt. I think he rode on a lion. The guy, it's like when you're talking about Mike Tyson and, his tigers at home or whatever he's got. And then one of there's 7 mitzvahs given to B'nai Noah, given to the, all the Gentiles. And one is don't eat the limb off a live animal. And that was because of him. He would just tear like a limb off an animal. So this guy, you did not want to get angry. This guy's a great conqueror, great emperor. He was scary,
So he was like a modern day Gilgamesh, which was ancient then, but not so modern now. Okay, well, that is pretty. He certainly has enough syllables, so he better be impressive.
Yeah, this is okay. So the head of the statue was of fine gold. Its breast and arms were silver. its stomach and thighs of bronze, and its legs were of iron, and its feet part iron and part clay. Oh, so you got all that? Figured it out?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so what this is, so I'm going to give you the hints. All right, so the gold head is going to be the first of the four empires, and that's the Babylonian Empire. The breast and arms of silver, because these were two nations that came together to form an empire. You have two arms. So this was Persia and Media, the Persian Empire, the Median Empire. The stomach, which is interesting because like a six-pack stomach, sign of beauty. So this is the empire of beauty, of art, of science. This is going to be Greece.
Greece, sure.
And then the legs, so those are all, and then beginning of the legs, the thighs. So these are all copper, bronze. And then finally, the long legs. So this is going to be the longest running empire. The legs of iron, so two legs, and its feet part of iron and part clay. So this is going to be the Roman Empire. And according to the Torah, there's going to be 10 phases and then little horn of the Roman Empire, and we're still in it. So the one iron leg is Rome, the Western Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire is Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire, and we're now in the feet. We're in the feet. So you have the modern day powers of iron. So you have, like, let's say the USA, Russia, Germany, France, England, the modern day powers. And then the Ibn Ezra says the clay is the Arab powers. So you'd have like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, those modern Arab powers, like that. And then he says, as you look on, a stone was hewn out, but not by hands, and it struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and crushed them. And this is going to be a vision of Mashiach leading the Jewish people, and it's going to be the end of these four empires. Right? He's going to say, all at once, the iron, clay, bronze, silver, and gold were crushed and became like chaff off the threshing floors of summer. A wind carried them off until no trace of them was left. But the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain. And this is referring to, Mount Moriah. Jerusalem is talking about the Temple Mount, the rebuilding of the temple, and then filled the whole earth. So the wisdom of the Torah in the Messianic age will go out to the whole earth. It says, such was the dream, and we will now tell the king its meaning. All right, so he's going to go through and basically say that those are the empires.
Okay, so that's what he got from the lions, or he actually saw the vision of this statue we're talking about, and it's been interpreted as four lions.
Oh, four lions? No, so Daniel's going to have the same vision of the four empires, but unlike Nebuchadnezzar, who sees the four empires as part of a man, like a statue of a man, Daniel's going to see four mighty beasts, and they're going to represent the four empires and aspects of the empires, and then a man coming down from the clouds is going to represent Mashiach in his vision.
Okay, so he didn't see four lions; he saw four beasts, one being a lion.
Yeah, one was a lion. Yeah.
So where's this story about someone named Daniel surrounded by lions in a cave?
Oh, okay. So some of the Gentiles that were also serving the king, they were kind of jealous of Daniel because he comes to great prominence after interpreting this dream, and he becomes really like the main advisor. And
Like
and then
Joseph, the sequel.
So then like Steve Bannon and those guys get all bent out of shape, and then they want to bring Daniel down. So the king really liked Daniel, so they came over. They convinced the king, and I think this may have even been a different king. I think this was even in the time of like Belshazzar, the grandson. But it's like, oh, king, why don't you make a law? No one can pray to any god for the next 30 days, knowing that Daniel prays 3 times a day to Hashem facing Jerusalem, and they were going to kind of catch him. And then the king didn't really want to throw him in the lion's pit, but he did, and then he was miraculously saved, from the lion's pit. It's all in here. It's all in the book of Daniel, like different chapters and all these stories.
Oh, so they actually did put him in a lion's pit, but the lions didn't. So both his vision and his reality were the same, but it's maybe a coincidence or symbolism that it was I mean, how many lions were in the lion bin? Was it 4, or am I just making that up?
I mean, I have to look it over again. I mean, there was a couple lions or so. And then the enemies that tried to kill Daniel, they were thrown in, and then they were torn apart. You know,
they got eaten. Yeah, no mercy for the wicked.
So if you had this vision of Nebuchadnezzar, and he's going to be the first of these 4 empires, and he's going to be Babylon, he's going to be the golden head, what would your reaction be?
Well, I think I'd first be happy that I'm the golden head, but this doesn't portend very good for my empire nor any of the others. This cast asunder into ash. So, yeah, that I mean, it sounds like, apocalypse.
So that's a good insight, because what does he do? Nebuchadnezzar said, "I don't like it. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a giant statue, and I'm going to make it all gold. So all world history is going to be all Babylon. There's going to be no other empires. And to ensure that it's only Babylon, I'm going to get all the Jews to bow down to this golden statue. So Hashem, God's going to be mad at them." And then 3 Jews in Daniel didn't bow down. So let's see. It was Mishael, Azariah, and Hananiah. So only those.
Well.
And they were thrown into the furnace, and they were miraculously saved from the furnace, I believe.
Oh, I mean, that's equally as not being torn up by lions. I mean, maybe more so, because, I mean, maybe the lions weren't that hungry. Maybe they were allergic to Daniel. But fire doesn't care.
But then, unfortunately, all the rest of the Jews did bow down. They were afraid, and that gets us into the Purim story. Then we get into
the Jews have done a lot of disappointing of old Hashem in that Old Testament. It's a very disappointing children, very angry parent relationship.
All right, so Nebuchadnezzar, he's like, I want it to be all Babylon, all Babylon, all the time, all of history, and that was his plan. All right, so let's bring up Daniel's vision.
That is
here.
a very kingly reaction. And what is with people in building giant statues? Like, what is that? I mean, I know everyone wants immortality, but if you were the king, the emperor of a large area, like, aren't you already sort of immortal?
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, some people love him, some people hate him. If there's any guy around now that's building a large golden statue, it's going to be Trump.
Well, I know. Listen, I know the stories that other people built it, and like it is just a coincidence that he just did it as we're talking about this. But it is, he puts his stamp and his imprimatur and his face and his name on lots of things, and it's very kingly behavior, very I want to be immortal, and but I'm not a clinician, and I'm not going to play one on YouTube or on the airwaves of Spotify and Spreaker and whatnot. I've done it before. I'm not going to do it with you, because because this is part of your article of faith, and you don't argue with friends about their articles of faith. I mean, it's just. I mean, you probably shouldn't argue with anyone about their articles of faith, but you certainly don't do that with friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like one of the tricks of the times we live in, where it's amazing that we can communicate with anyone around the world. And I think maybe like one of the main things to learn is how to communicate, how to communicate with people that have different ideas, different visions of the world, and being able to have, a nice conversation and not, I don't know. It's a great skill in this day and age.
We should have people build a giant statue of the two of us at a gold holding hands.
I don't know. I'm not going to go along with that one. I'm
just workshopping here.
You're just workshopping. I'm not going to go with that one right now.
Just workshopping that one.
Okay, so now we're going to go into Daniel's vision, and he's going to basically see a vision of the 4 empires, but he's going to see it very, very different now. And as Nebuchadnezzar looked at the actions of the 4 empires as a man, we're going to see Daniel is going to see these empires as great beasts. Very interesting. So Daniel, he related the following. This is chapter 7. I'm sorry, the other one I think I said was chapter 2. So he says, in my vision at night, I saw the 4 winds of heaven stirring up the great sea, and 4 mighty beasts, different from each other, emerged from the sea.
Which is the great sea in this? Would that be the Persian Gulf?
This is very interesting. So a lot of commentary speaks of this in a more spiritual, mystical sense.
Okay,
like the sea's water, and it's kind of like how history is going to unfold. It's very interesting. So you were talking about like us kind of as Jewish people kind of making some mistakes here and there. If we if we really listen to God, if we really follow the Torah through history a lot better sometimes, these animals would have just come out of the forest, been more peaceful. They would have come and gone. But what's interesting is them, like the sea stirring up. This is like the 4 winds or the 4 directions of the world. These empires are all going to come from the 4 directions. It's going to be like agitated, and they're going to become more solidified. So I think the sea, it would have been very peaceful, like a nice sea breeze blowing over us, and we would have had an exile, but a very peaceful one. But unfortunately, I think when they became more solidified, maybe that was going into the forest, they become more physical, more solidified. And then we've had some really, horrendous history with some of these empires.
Okay, so I guess what was it? When the 4 winds all blow at the same time and converge, it's sort of like Voltron. It becomes a Voltron wind, and it's so gigantic, and it becomes more solidified and dangerous, like a roiled sea. Yeah. Almost like the old Babylonian Tiamat concept.
A little bit, yeah. So I mean, we're going to see like the 4th beast, the one of Rome, is going to be very terrifying. Like not even definitively any kind of known creature, which is interesting.
Oh, I like that.
All right, so these 4 mighty beasts, they're all different from each other, and they emerge from the sea. So the first one, so this is going to be Babylon. The first one was like a lion, but had eagle's wings. And as I looked on, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted off the ground and set on its feet like a human and given a human mind. Very interesting. All right, so this is going to describe the Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar, like the lion, this is going to be the unholy lion. Judah, King David, that's going to be the holy lion.
What was Nebuchadnezzar's Babylonian name? Is it Nebuchadnezzar, or is it?
Oh, what we translate to? I think, right, Nebuchadnezzar, maybe.
Okay, so but phonetically it's similar.
I'll tell you one thing that always boggled my mind. I think it was in the second Matrix movie. Their ship was called the Nebuchadnezzar, but their home base was Zion. And it's like, did you guys just look up cool names? And
yep,
because that doesn't work together. Nebuchadnezzar, like he invades and conquered Sion or Zion. He doesn't, it's not like, you guys just look up some cool name. What?
Maybe in the Matrix it does.
I don't know. I think they just, no, this is a cool name. Let's throw it in there.
Sure. That's so far away. I mean, no, yeah, but you're right. It would have made more sense to call it like the Baghdad or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Just keep it consistent. I don't know.
Exactly.
But so, right. So the lion's the king of the wild animals. So this is the first of the empires. And they had just dramatic military victories spreading out very quickly all over the world. And that's the eagle's wings. They were just spreading out, flying from country to country, conquering country after country. Now, then it's interesting. The wings were plucked off.
Yeah.
And it was lifted off the ground and set on its feet like a human. So one of the chapters in Daniel, it describes, so Nebuchadnezzar, he starts to get very arrogant, and he thinks he's like greater than God. So he's taught a lesson. And he's meant to live. He's made to live with the animals for 7 years in the wild, and he loses his empire for 7 years. And I think his hair grows out, and he has kind of claws, and he's like an animal for 7 years. And
so he's both Gilgamesh and Enkidu.
Could be. Could be. Or don't they, or don't, or are those Sumerian myths, or I forgot where they're
Yeah,
from.
there's a Sumerian. Yeah, Epic
Okay.
of Gilgamesh.
Okay. So, right. So, and then he's like, but then he's like a human, because now he, this drastic experience kind of like humanizes him a little more than he was before.
Humbled him, literally put his feet on the ground and gave him a brain to see.
Yeah, and then we'll see later. It says like he was actually given a human heart at some point.
Oh, it's like the Wizard of Oz now.
Yeah. All right, so then the second, he says, then I saw a second different beast, which is like a bear, but raised on one side with 3 fangs in its mouth among its teeth. And it was told, arise, eat much meat. So here, there's a famous story also in the book of Daniel of the festival, the party of Belshazzar, the grandson, and then the hand writing on the wall. And then that night, he's overthrown by Darius the Mede and by, I believe, Koresh, by Cyrus of Persia. And that's the beginning of the Persian Empire. So this now is a vision of the Persian Empire. And Achashverosh, Koresh, Darius, they were known as like you see with Achashverosh in the Purim story. He threw a party for 180 days, just wine and gourmet food. So they're very into the physical, very overindulged. They conquered, 127 countries. There's a big debate. There's a big debate over what the 3 fangs or the 3 like bones in the mouth. I'm not going to speculate on that much right now. There's a lot of different commentary on what that means.
Oh, I thought you just told me. I thought it was Cyrus, Darius, and Ahasuerus.
Yeah, so the 3 Persian kings is one of the commentary, right? So it is Koresh, Cyrus, Achashverosh, and Darius, Darius, the son of Esther. Yeah, I mean, there are more kings. That's another interesting discussion of the Torah mentions certain kings, but we have from, let's say, like Persian history or Greek history, there's going to be more kings listed in the histories of those empires. And it could be that the Torah just focuses on the important ones, as not concerned with, maybe we could just call them minor kings, or not as influential in history, influential in history as much.
What does raised on one side mean? Does it mean that one side of the bear was much larger than the other? Does it mean he was standing on his legs upright like a human? Does it mean he was half standing and half hunched down? I don't understand what raised on one side means.
I mean, it's very mysterious. Right. You got to remember, like, it could be, let me see if I can remember it. The 3 fangs, there's some opinions there was 3 countries they just could never conquer. The raised on one side, a lot of opinions on that, a lot of commentary on that, is that the empire originally started out as the agreement of these 2 nations, Media and Persia. And they agreed. So Media, the first king was Darius the Mede. And then their agreement, it says in the Gemara and Megillah, their agreement is when the king is from one nation, the governors of the conquered countries will come from the other nations. And then they'll switch. So it'll be like this equal ruling in the empire. But once one Persian king took over, there was never a Median king again. So a lot of commentary raised on one side. It was only Persia. Even though it started off as Persian Media, it was really the Persian Empire. It's like,
okay. So we'll just say that like his hair was all hackled up and crazy on one side. Like he was like a punk rocker on, had an asymmetric hairdo. Okay.
And what's interesting, like Media no longer survives. But as we're seeing this war, the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Empire is alive and well. Wow. The Persian Empire is still kicking.
Yeah. Well, Persia very much there.
Okay, so then let's go to the Third Empire. After that, as I looked on, there was another one like a leopard, and it had on its back 4 wings like those of a bird. The beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. All right, so this is going to be the Greek Empire. Now, the leopard here, very fast, faster than the lion, more graceful a little bit than the lion. And the leopard is going to represent Alexander the Great. So this is going to be mighty conquest, but more civilized, more. Alexander the Great, his teacher was Aristotle. So it was the culture of Greece, the arts and sciences of Greece, not as barbaric as Babylon, more culture, more, more arts and, just more smooth like the leopard. And then the four wings on the back, like a bird, they're going to be the four generals. Or no, I'm sorry, the four wings are like they quickly spread out in all four directions and just very quick conquest. And the four heads are going to be the four generals that are going to take over the Greek Empire and split up the empire into four different parts after Alexander the Great dies very young. And dominion was given to it, right? They really made a huge imprint on the world, and really we're living really almost more the Greco-Roman culture of today. It reemerged in the Renaissance, the Greco-Roman learning, and, it's alive and well in academia all over the world, the Greco-Roman arts and sciences.
Yeah, well, we're going sort of in historic era. It was first Babylon, then Persia, then Alexander the Great conquered both places, and I guess next is going to be Rome, which inherited the Greek world.
And here we go. And then after that, as I looked on in the night vision, so the first three beasts, they were one night. And night represents exile for the Jewish people. But you'll notice that if you look at the history of those empires, they all were pretty quick. Not more than, some hundreds of years here and there, but not vast, empires stretching throughout all history, where this fourth beast is in its own night. And according to the Torah, we're still in the final phase of the Roman Empire. We'll get to that. We'll talk about the phases of the Roman Empire. But after that, as I looked on in the night vision, there was a fourth beast, fearsome, dreadful, very powerful, with great iron teeth that devoured and crushed. Now, much more description of how scary the Roman Empire is, how devastating, iron representing the swords and military victories and military technology, and stamped the remains with its feet. It didn't just conquer. It brought the country under its dominion. It was different from all the other beasts that had gone before it, and it had 10 horns. And this is where we're going to get really, interesting.
Yeah, because 10 horns, one, I don't know what that actually relates to, but the beast in Revelation, which is certainly not in the Torah, also had 10 horns.
Right. So that was, based, copied, if you will, from here, from the vision of Daniel. And so, I guess you could be gentle about it, say inspired by it, but,
Sure.
Yeah.
And does the number 10 represent anything in particular with regards to horns? Certain numbers repeat themselves, but usually it's 12 or 6 or 7, 4 comes up a lot, 3, but 10, aside from the horns, I'm not really sure, except that maybe didn't the Romans sort of use like the 10 for counting? So is that to represent, they had, December and is the 9th month, the 10th month rather, there were only 10 months, and, the Roman military was based in groups of 10, and everything was their measurement. Is that just more Rome, or is there something more to 10 horns?
So these are all great questions. So I want to do a little cliffhanger here.
Okay.
And I want to bring in the little horn, and then we'll have a big discussion. At the 10 horns, the little horn.
Okay.
But I think it's right. I think it's really good questions, and I want to do a little suspense here, so we'll build it up. So then he says, while I was gazing upon these horns, a new little horn sprouted up among them. 3 of the older horns were uprooted to make room for it, and there were eyes in this horn like those of a human, and a mouth that spoke arrogantly. So I think to understand it better, we need the 10 horns plus the little horn. So there's going to be phases of history. The first phase of this is going to be just the ancient Roman Empire. And then this same vision of the 10 horns and the little horn we're going to see it's going to spread out for all of world history until now. So we'll start at ancient Rome, and then we'll take a wider view of history. So the 10 horns are going to represent the original 10, the 10 emperors. The first, so starting with Julius Caesar and going through the original 10 emperors. Now, then, if you'll remember, after Emperor Nero, and you talk about a video, that's a whole video. Nero is a whole video, but I don't want to go into it so much right now. But after Nero either committed suicide or left, and the Gemara says he became a Jew. And historians don't like Nero. They don't like Nero at all. But the empire was in disarray. And there was 3 emperors that came very, very quickly after Nero. And then they were kind of uprooted. And then there was a new, very strong general named Vespasian. And then Vespasian's son is going to be the little horn in this first incarnation. And his son is Emperor Titus, who was a general at the time. But when when Vespasian becomes emperor, he began the siege of Jerusalem. And then his son, General Titus, takes over, and he's the destroyer of the second temple.
I think Vespasian was a general also, wasn't he?
Yeah, so Vespasian began the siege, and then he was given a message that he became emperor, and then he left his son, General Titus, in charge. And then I think they're also, I'm going to probably get it wrong right now, but I think there's another brother. I want to say Germanicus, but I can't remember right now. It's been a while since I really studied this stuff so deeply. But the brother became king after Titus did. But Titus is the little horn, and he's the one that destroyed the temple, and he spoke really arrogantly to God. And then the original, in this version of the 10 horns, the eyes on the little horns, like a human, it's going to be those great intelligence of the leaders of Rome. They adopted the wisdom of Greece, and they had great military intelligence. And we're going to see then over history, it's going to be very interesting as we come into our days what this all means. All right, so that's one view. So let's take a broader historical view, and I think you're going to find this interesting because this is going to lead us into our days right now. But we could also look at the 10 horns as the sweep of all of the Roman history. So here, the 10 horns would go something like this. You would have the ancient Roman Empire as the first horn, then Constantine forming, the Eastern Roman Empire. That's going to be the next phase. And then after destruction of the West, destruction of the East, then you're going to get into like the Holy Roman Empire. That's going to be a phase. You could potentially see maybe someone like Charlemagne, maybe that's a phase. But definitely the powers of Europe are going to be the phases. So you're going to have like the days of like the Great Spanish Armada. Like that's going to be one of the horns. You're going to have the power of, let's say, like Napoleonic France, when France is a great empire. You're going to have the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. You're going to have the British Empire. And these are all going to be phases. So then, as we look at the grand scope of world history, you want to take any guesses who's the little horn?
I mean, you teased it earlier, but I'm like, are we not mentioning a little place called Germany?
Germany's going to definitely be a phase of the horn too. But in a national sense, this is very interesting. So if we look at American history as a nation,
is that the little horn that could?
America is going to be the little horn because you're talking about the revolutionaries, and they uprooted. Who do they uproot? They uprooted the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, and the French Empire.
Yep. Okay, the 3 old horns. The three
of the horns that came before them. Now, I think also what's very interesting is then when you look at it through the modern lens, Any guesses what the eyes in the horn are?
No.
Okay, well, I mean, look into your computer, look into your smart TV, look into all the cameras at all the traffic lights in front of the school, the massive, satellites, the surveillance. There's many
Yes.
in the little horn phase of the Roman Empire.
So Skynet.
Skynet, right? AI, digital, these data centers, just accumulating data, just seeing what everyone's doing, just looking through screens, looking through cameras, just all the camera eyes, all the digital information. And then a vast intelligence also. Vast stores of libraries all around the world in this modern Roman Empire, vast amounts of knowledge. Look at the scientific technology, just, quantum computing, particle accelerators, hypersonic missile. It's drone warfare. It takes
a much smaller horn to contain much more information.
Yeah. So I think as a nation, America is the little horn. The USA is the little horn. But as an individual leader, I think, you got some people that hate Trump so much, they would say, oh, yeah, it's got to be that guy. He's the villain. So I don't know. I tell you when I first started thinking, I don't know. But like when he called the first time he was running, he ran against Marco Rubio. And he called him Little Marco. And I was like, could it be that the guy that called someone else Little Marco is the one that Torah is calling, the little horn? I don't know. It's kind of a unfolding mystery. Who knows? We'll have to see.
I don't know. I don't listen. I'm the one who missed the lesson on Daniel, so I didn't know that the Torah weighed in on modern American politics in such a direct manner.
So now this is going to be interesting. So now we're going to open up a case in the heavenly court. It says, as I look, so we saw the heavenly court before because we did, so people can watch our video on Ezekiel, and that's Ezekiel's vision of the throne room, the heavenly court. And now we're going to actually see a trial in the throne room, in the heavenly court. So as I looked on, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took a seat, wearing a garment like white snow, and with hair like lamb's wool. This throne was tongues of flame, and its wheels were blazing fire. And we talked about before the Chayas HaKodesh and the Ophanim, the wheels of the chariot. So just to give, this is a very deep Kabbalah. I'll try to just give a brief, little more down the earth explanation here. But the thrones set in place, meaning when countries are at war, the thrones are set up. And the Gemara's talked a lot about this war we're in right now, the war between Paras, Persia, Iran, and Edom, the USA. But what happens in the heavenly court is there's an angel that represents all the 70 nations. And then we are personally represent, Hashem, we're attached to Hashem. But I think in the heavenly court, I think we're represented by Michael. So when it says the thrones were set up, that means the angels in charge of all the countries that are involved in the war, they're in this case. And everybody's arguing their case of why their nation should win the war. But this is going to be like one of the final wars. The Ancient of Days, Atik Yomim, this is a spiritual creation. It's called the Partsufim. I think it's a little beyond us right now to get into all the worlds and all the spiritual constructs. I think it's going to be a little beyond this right now.
That's fine.
But it's going in this very deep Kabbalistic direction. There is what's called the Nahar Dinor. There's a river of fire that comes out from the throne. And there's an implication. There's a description of that.
It's interesting that the description is that they're wearing garments that are white as snow and that their hair is like lamb's wool, which is also generally very white, but I guess curly. I don't know if that's the first physical description beyond sort of made of fire or that you can't look upon, but that seems to feed into sort of medieval and Renaissance artists.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, I think one thing that's been like a misunderstanding, people try to make physical representations of this, but we talked about this a little bit with Ezekiel. I mean, these are all spiritual creations. This is in a spiritual world, and the Torah is just using language so we'll understand it. Things in the physical world we'll understand. But I think people sometimes they make a mistake and they think these things are physical. And it's like, I mean, do we really understand spiritual fire? Do we understand? I mean, it's talking a spiritual sense of purity. You're talking spiritual creations, these angels, giving off spiritual light, but it's trying to give us descriptions that we can understand, things that we can relate to in the physical world.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as people are talking about UFO disclosure and whatever, they're describing them all demonic and, going to Ezekiel and these descriptions and saying, see, those are what UFOs look like. And then, as if there's actually been a clear picture. Of course, to some they're angels, to some they're demons, to some they're aliens, to some they're BS,
Yeah, I haven't really looked in it so much yet. I looked at a couple and I was like, okay, come on, that's a drone, that's a drone, that's a drone.
Pretty much, yeah.
Give me the good stuff. Where's the good stuff?
I know. It's like, and like you keep pushing me towards a movie that's going to be released on, for theatrical release. And I'm starting to think this is not a very official disclosure. So I'm losing heart. But I'm totally ready to put an end to this failed experiment and just elect Representative Paulina Luna as the next president. So
no, all of a sudden you have one drone go by and it says Mandalorian and Grogu to 2026.
That'd be fantastic. But I'm still going for Paulina, and I'll tell you why. She's a former stripper, and now she's a congressperson. Nobody lies better than strippers and politicians. She's both perfect.
We're always in the heavenly spheres, and somehow you get us on a detour to Vegas.
This is Washington. I did not. I mean, or South Florida, but it's.
I hear. Yeah. I think they called Washington Hollywood for ugly people. I think that's one of the funny monikers that.
Well, she's one of the disclosure leaders, so I wasn't just picking on her for no reason.
No, I hear. All right, so let's see. So this is the Nahar Dinor, the river of fire is coming out from the throne. Thousands and thousands, talking about thousands of angels. They're serving Hashem, they're serving God. Myriads upon myriads stood. So I think 1,000 is 1,000. A myriad, it's usually the word Ravava, means 10,000s. And these things quickly get into the millions and billions when they start multiplying. And the court sat and the books were open. So this is the books of judgment, same books, life and death. You deal with on Rosh Hashanah. So I looked on, and then because of the arrogant words that the horn spoke, the beast was killed as I looked on. Its body was destroyed and it was consigned to the flame. So this is going to be probably the final kings going against Mashiach. We talked maybe briefly about him, Gog from Magog. This is probably going to be the final one that invades Jerusalem. And this is going to be like...
Are you talking about Titus now or Trump, Little Horn? Because
no. So I'm saying...
You're asking for an indictment if you're calling him Little Horn and he's...
No. So I'm saying, I was kind of doing that as a little teaser. So I'm saying we may not even know the world leader yet, who this is going to be, or I don't know, or one of the current world leaders. I mean, I do. If I had to put down a wager, I would say Vladimir Putin has a good chance of being the first one. Who would be?
You put down a wager on Kalshi?
Which one?
Kalshi, the one of those predictive markets where you can make your own bets.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really gamble.
Well, it's not a gamble. This is scripture.
I don't know though, but you got to know. You got to be enough. You got to be a prophet to really know how it's really going to apply.
All right.
So the dominion of the other beast was taken away. So this means now, the judgment's in, and all the four empires are going away. Well, Babylon, now Persia, Iran is supposed to fall to, I think it's going to be America, 9 months before Mashiach comes. And you see, that's all hanging in the balance right now. Like that's kind of there, kind of not there. But an extension of life was given to them for a time and a season, right? These are the great mysteries of the book of Daniel. People don't know how to interpret these. So as I looked on in the night vision, one like a human being came with the clouds of heaven. he reached the Ancient of Days and was given an audience. Now, this is going to be Mashiach. And notice that Mashiach, the Messiah, he's the first one that Daniel sees as a human being. He sees the other empires as kind of like animal-like beasts. But Mashiach, he sees that's a man, like that's a human being. That's what a human being should be. So dominion, glory, and kingship were given to him. All peoples and nations of every language must serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingship one that shall not be destroyed. Now, Nebuchadnezzar saw this as a stone that smashed the statue of the other four empires. The vision here is kind of like a man coming down from the clouds, and then he's given, dominion over this, world empire now. So as for me, but the way I understand it's going to be more of a voluntary empire, not military conquest going from nation to nation. Just, I don't know. We'll have to. It's kind of
conquest. It's a movement.
I would say, if we had to say it in terms of conquest, I would say the conquest of ideas, the conquest of wisdom, like a garden of thought.
Yes, indeed. Crossover event with the New World Order. All right.
So as for me, Daniel, my spirit was disturbed within me, and the vision of my mind alarmed me. So I approached one of the attendants. No, he's going to ask. So Daniel's going to ask one of the angels, and he's going to say, he's asked the true meaning of all this. He gave me this interpretation of the matter. These great beasts, 4 in number, mean 4 kingdoms will arise out of the earth. The holy ones of the Most High, meaning the Jewish people, will receive the kingdom and will possess the kingdom forever and ever, meaning our exiles will finally be done. And I wanted to ascertain the true meaning of the 4th beast, which was different from them all, very fearsome, with teeth of iron, claws, and bronze. Now, new information, claws of bronze all of a sudden, that devoured and crushed and stamped the remains. So we saw the teeth of iron before. Claws of bronze could be referring to something related to Greece, the Greek Empire, something related to the Greek wisdom that's now helping their strategy.
Okay.
And of the 10 horns on its head, and of the new one that sprouted to make room for which 3 fell, the horn that had eyes and a mouth that spoke arrogantly, and which was more conspicuous than its fellows. So I looked on as the horn made war with the holy ones and overcame them. So this is where, to me right now, I don't see this as Trump, because as for everything we've seen right now, Trump does seem to like the Jewish people. And this is an interesting week. He said that it should be a national Shabbat for a celebration of the 250th anniversary of America. I don't think really, just besides like the Jewish, Orthodox Jewish broadcasters like me, I don't think too many people have mentioned that,
No, I think I heard it once, but also, if you are not the biggest fan of Trump, you may realize that his entire life history is filled with betrayals. So, your friend today might be your enemy tomorrow, and he forgot that you were ever friends. So,
see, I think if Donald Trump had told the Jewish people to not celebrate Shabbat, I think every liberal Jew would be in shul this Shabbos, and we could see Mashiach. I think we were so close. Oh. If he just said don't celebrate Shabbat, I think that could have flipped the page.
Well, maybe he should have Ivanka do it.
And I do find it very interesting of him. I mean, the first like a daughter of a president that's a Gioris, a convert. I mean, it's definitely. I don't know. I think like I find myself in small company or big company. I don't know, but I'm kind of like in the middle with him. I'm not like, I don't think he's like, the most evil fascist, Russian spy dictator. But I also don't understand the people that are like, oh, he's the modern day Koresh, Cyrus. He's going to rebuild the temple. I'm kind of just in the middle. It's like, he does. Some things are good. Some things are not. I don't know. Like,
this is above my pay grade. I
hear. We're coming too much into Washington.
No, I actually find the underlying subject matter much more interesting than where Trump may or may not fit into today's prophecy. Now, I hear. Given on what happens in the next, let's just say, few months to few years, I may feel very differently. Either But for now, I'm pretty invested in trying to figure out what's going on with bronze claws and iron teeth and all these beasts. And
and I think you make a good point. Like, we really almost have to see how things unfold to really get a clearer picture. Until they really unfold fully, Rambam says, like, we won't really know. It
would be nice if there was somebody who had prophecy who could tell us now, because that's exactly what prophecy is. It tells you what's going to happen in the future, and maybe a prophesier now, a prophet now would speak in more clearer terms to us now. I mean, this very well might have been extraordinarily clear to people 2,600 years ago or whatnot. They might have understood every word of what it is. I mean, I remember in middle school reading the Canterbury Tales, which is supposedly in English, but you could understand a word here or there, a context here or there, but not the whole thing. And I don't think that was the lesson of the class necessarily, but it's the one that sticks with you, that the same language changes a whole lot over a few hundred years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we're at a great spiritual lack that we don't have these men and women of great spiritual levels, to be able to communicate with God and interpret this correctly. But I do feel like we have one advantage of watching a lot of history unfold. So we do have a lot of world history that we can kind of look at for patterns and cycles, and we do get a little bit of advantage there.
Well,
but I agree,
the eyes everywhere. But I'm not sure from reading this that the eyes everywhere is necessarily a good thing. I mean, again, it does say that it's gonna fight with the holy ones, and if I understand correctly, the holy ones are you and me. Now, I would say you're holier than me, but it seems like we're just lumped in by certain markers on our DNA and our bloodline. So,
but I do feel like, unfortunately, we do see, people getting a little more riled up against the Jewish people again. So,
Oh, well, there's nothing new about that.
We've seen this. We've heard this song before.
Yes, it's the laziest song. It's the laziest, greatest hit of all time.
All right, so so we're gonna go. Okay, so we go on here. So then,
it's like she loves you. Yeah. Bad behavior.
The Ancient of Days came, and judgment was rendered in favor of the holy ones and the Most High. So we win the court case. That's good.
Wow.
For the time had come, and the holy ones took possession of the kingdom, meaning the land of Israel.
Okay.
So this is what he said. The fourth beast means there will be a fourth kingdom upon the earth that will be different from all the kingdoms. It will devour the whole earth, tread it down, and crush it. So there will be some king from Edom, whoever that's going to be, that's going to conquer the whole earth. And we'll have to see, So then the 10 horns mean from that kingdom, 10 kings will arise. And after them, another will rise. He will be different from the former ones and will bring low 3 kings. So this could be whoever is the actual person. We talked about the nations of the little horn, but there will be some king, some ruler that will take down 3 other powerful rulers. So that will be the sign of who the little horn really is. He will speak words against the Most High. So, someone speaking very blasphemous will harass the holy ones of the Most High. That's not so fun for us. He will think of changing times and laws. I find this one very interesting. There's some people talk about weather manipulation. And I don't know, changing the laws of nature somewhat, changing times. I don't know. And with great technology, and there will be delivered into his power for a time, times, and half a time. Very famous, very mysterious, very sealed. Many people would try to decipher this, but we're going to have to wait and see. I think Sir Isaac Newton, I think he wrote a book on it, trying to decipher the book of Daniel. Very interesting. Spent his later years trying to solve the riddle. Then the court will sit and his dominion will be taken away to be destroyed and abolished for all time. The kingship and dominion and grandeur.
So time had no colloquial meaning back, like Jubilee is 50 years. There's many different ways people have tried to predict and count and
using things like gematria, numerical values, and that's like saying like that's a whole show in itself, just all the predictions, all the ways to but I mean, I think it's so hard to predict it. We're not going to really get it until it happens. And then when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, that was the time, and half a time. And
I'm going to feed into the Zechariah Sitchin Anunnaki Chronicles. If you make time 1,000 years times, two of them, so that's 2,000 years, and half is 3,500 years. Nibiru's orbit is 3,600 years. That's close enough for government work.
All right, so you got it all there.
Yeah, that's right. The Anunnaki are nigh, everyone.
All right, check it off. All right, so the kingdom and dominion and grandeur belonging to all the kingdoms under heaven will be given to the people, the holy ones, the Most High. Their kingdom shall be an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions will serve and obey them. That sounds good, but we got a little bumpy road until then.
Okay. So we get the Hollywood ending, but we have to go through the Hollywood. We have to go through the Infinity Wars and the End Games and Civil War and everything in between there. So
yeah,
not all that different conceptually anyway than Ragnarok. I mean, what people forget about Ragnarok is that there were a few survivors, not a lot, and a couple of resurrections too. So it ended up with a half dozen. So it's not this 7 kings and one to lead them, the little horn, so to speak. But I guess the old phoenix, everything burns out, and then it gets reborn. Wow. So, but the important thing is the holy ones, meaning me, survive it all. I mean, that's. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, because everything sort of hurts a lot, and the
alternative is not as good.
I don't know. I don't know. I've had a couple of episodes where I just sort of lost consciousness and fell flat on my face, and it's been years, and then apparently of all the things in life, I didn't have enough salt in my diet. I mean, of all people, me. I mean,
yeah, that's a different one. That's really different.
Yeah, I had low blood pressure. I needed more salt. I've never had issues with my blood pressure, but if I was to, I think if you polled 100 people, 100 of them would have said high blood pressure. Anyway, so the point is other than a weird sensation of sort of knowing that you're not really in control of yourself anymore.
Yeah.
It just went black. And so actually that's not so bad. It really wasn't.
All right. So you should have a refuah shlema. You should have a complete healing very quickly. Did you have a near-death experience or just black?
No, I mean, no, they call them, it's not grand mal. It's whatever the opposite of grand mal is. So, that's what they called them, but I don't even think that's what it was. I think that just anything that's for all I know, it could have been a panic attack, but or two. But being that I took more salt and they said drink more water and drank more water, and it hasn't happened since, leads me to believe that they were right. So, and while I've have anxiety like the other person, I've never really felt like I had panic attacks, but neither did Tony Soprano. Until he did.
We can focus on the bigger mysteries of how is Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, and Dr. Doom. How are they going to explain that one?
Yeah, well, they made it really easy with all these variants and different timelines, and I hate it. I hate the whole thing, and I don't know why. I'm not interested in a 60-something-year-old Robert Downey Jr. and why you have to pay someone $220 million. Was why not just cast? I just wish Marvel would cast somebody that they can reliably use for the next 20 years.
Yeah,
have someone that's 30, 35, and they get to 55, and if you're Hugh Jackman or whatever, and you stay in ridiculous shape, because you're paid to.
Well, that's his healing factor. That's.
Right. Yeah, that was great. They let him keep that from the set. So sometimes they let stars keep the swag. So that was great. So Daniel both had a vision of beasts, but actually was thrown into a lion's den. But he was spared by the lions, presumably because God protected them. And then these other sorcerers, seers, false prophets were tossed in there, and the lions went all Las Vegas buffet on them. And so and a lot of subtext in here. Maybe it was just text. Maybe it wasn't even subtext. Maybe we'll just read it as subtext now because it's on the forefront of our minds. But luckily, it's on the forefront of your mind, and because you're tracking it and studying it and trying to apply it. And I know that even though you say you're in the middle, I know that you were at least optimistically hopeful that it is Little Horn is good and might be Trump or that Trump prevails or whatever it is that Little Horn doesn't prevail because the book says Little Horn can't prevail and all of that other stuff. I'm getting confused with Big Horn, which is the
Big Horn,
right? And then there's Red Horn, the First Nations sort of mythic hero.
No, I mean, I was teasing with Trump. I mean, I do find it interesting. I mean, I do find we live in very interesting times, and I find it startling. Like in a sense, like the USA and Israel fighting against Iran, and that's such a switch in geopolitical dynamics. Something very interesting and different.
Well, the more interesting part about it, I mean, if one is that. The Gulf states pretty much all are down with it, or at least were.
Here.
So that's I mean, it's all interesting. It's also scary. It's also unpredictable. It's also, it's a whole lot of things. But that is interesting. And another underreported story is that there are Israeli forces in the UAE operating Israeli Patriot Iron Domes protecting Arab land, which, I mean, sort of like, I mean, unless you don't really understand what the word genocide means. I mean, why would you deploy soldiers and troops to protect an Arab state if you're trying to commit a genocide against Arabs, which is, no, it's Palestinians. They're Arabs. I mean,
before we increase the global jihad, don't
you have to? Isn't this what we've been reading, that you have to escalate before it de-escalates?
Maybe. No, so I think give you a good sense of the four empires and Little Horn, and
crush some things underfoot. You got to. I mean,
no, we'll have to figure out. I think there's a lot to discuss, a lot more, and we'll have to figure out where we go next after this. In the next crossover.
I probably stay away from the war unless like there's some sort of decisive end to it, I suppose. I tend to doubt it, but we'll see. Maybe I'm just getting overload and hearing from the wrong people. And listen, I've always been sort of a skeptic and a cynic. I started a show called Garden of Doom. I changed the Garden of Thought, but it's just a cover story. I'm still the Doom guy. So,
but look at that. You're coming from doom to thought.
I'm self-aware-ish, ish. All right. Well, thank you for doing this. This was impromptu. We originally had the schedule to do next month, but this is cool, and we'll figure out what our next topic will be, or who it will be, or whatever. I know that you had that Solomon's General that was interesting. You talked about Nero that's interesting. I don't know, whatever it is. And I hope your audience enjoys this crossover. And why don't you tell my audience where they can find you?
All right, so you can look at Sweet and Good Torah on YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, all of them. Instagram, TikTok, wherever, Facebook, wherever you want to take a look at it.
You are so down with it now.
Down with the kids. That sounds bad. but down with the technology. Down with
remember that time on that island.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. I think we got to get out now.
Probably so. Where can you find me? You can't. I'm canceled. It's over. Don't worry about it. It's done. Podcast is Garden of Thought. You can find me on, well, most of you don't want wrestling nonsense. So if you want to find me on the Twitter, it's at IcarusFellMD. But if you like wrestling nonsense, it's at dose_evil. If you listen to the Garden of Thought, you're going to get shows somewhere like this. Some are maybe more, I don't know, day-to-day kind of issues, legal, science, tech, public affairs. And then my guilty pleasure is the show I have where I co-host with a rotating crew of pro wrestlers, and the guests are also pro wrestlers or in pro wrestling. So me and my best friend, Mr. Thomas, just recently talked to Ref Jimmy Corderas, who was a WWE ref for 25 years. And we tried to talk as a little bit about wrestling as possible. So that's always a lot of fun. And the YouTube is at Garden of Thought Garden of Thought Pod, one word. And there it is. And if you follow the other shows, you'll hear about all the other stuff too, especially the wrestling nonsense. So, that's it. That's where you can find me. Lon, what do you? Davey. I know him as Lon. What do you want what do you think the outro song could be? I mean, Elton John's Daniel sounds kind of lame.
I don't know. You have to maybe Eye of the Tiger. Who knows? I don't know.
Or the number of the beast is wrong. So I don't know. I'll come up with something. I'll figure out something.
It'll be a nice surprise. I'll see what you pick.
Oh, it'll be the best. All right. Thank you to our guest, and thanks to your audience for listening in. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. We'll talk again soon.
Still warm.